You are welcome to Graceman Knowledge Hub. In this episode, we'll be having detailed exposition into the concept of POS reconciliation. Before going into the depth of POS reconciliation, I would like to have a little background on what reconciliation really means. Reconciliation simply means settling or settlement of discrepancies or differences or disagreements between different reports from different sources. Now, we have examples of reconciliation. We have inventory reconciliation. Inventory reconciliation in this instance can be settling the discrepancy between what the record says about the quantity of inventory in the store and what is physically there in the store. We also have what we call bank reconciliation statement. This settles the discrepancy, bank reconciliation, excuse me, this settles the discrepancy between the bank book and the what and the bank statement. And we also have the POS reconciliation, which is the subject of discourse in this episode. What is POS reconciliation? POS reconciliation is the settlement of discrepancy or disagreement between the record of the merchant, the acquiring bank, and the what and the issuing bank. Now, I would like to break this down. Who is the merchant? Who is the acquiring bank? Who is the issuing bank? Merchant in this case is the person in custody of the what? Of the POS. So the person in custody of the POS is the what? Is the merchant. Who is the acquiring bank? Acquiring bank is the bank that the POS that is in custody of the merchant is mapped to. POS is what? Is mapped to. Is the bank which the what the POS is mapped to. That simply means that if a merchant called Graceman Enterprise has a POS and anytime Graceman Enterprise does transaction, Access Bank is credited. That simply means that the acquiring bank of that POS terminal is what? Is Access Bank. Now we go to the third party here, and the party here is issuing bank. Who is the issuing bank? Issuing bank is the bank of the person in custody of the ATM card. So let me paint a scenario. Graceman has a POS machine that is used for business and it is mapped to Access Bank. Ojo wants to withdraw. Ojo has a GT Bank ATM. That simply means that the issuing bank in this instance is GT. That now means that when Ojo slots the ATM into the POS that is in custody of Graceman Enterprise, Ojo will be debited, the wallet of the agent will be credited, and that invariably means that the bank account and the acquiring bank, which is Access Bank, will be what? Will be credited with what? With the amount. Now, this now takes us further to the report that is represented in what? In this reconciliation process. The report represented in this reconciliation process, we have the merchant POS report. What is the merchant POS report saying? The merchant POS report records POS transaction real time. That means as Ojo comes to do cash out on the POS transaction or buys one or two things from the retail store, right? The POS report of the merchant is what is credited real time, right? And we also have the merchant bank statement. Some banks do instant settlement, some banks do T+1. In a situation where the bank is doing instant settlement, that also simply means that as the POS report of the merchant is being credited, the bank account of the merchant that is domiciled with the acquiring bank will also what? Be credited. But in a situation where the acquiring bank does T+1 settlement, that simply means that the transaction that is done by Graceman Enterprise today will be settled to the bank account of Graceman that is domiciled with what? With the acquiring bank on the what? On the other day. But note, settlement and POS with meta POS report shows the what? The transaction with time. That simply means that as transactions are being done, they are being recorded in the merchant POS report. Now we go to the acquiring bank POS report. As the merchant POS report is being updated with what? With the collections or transactions that are done on that POS, the acquiring bank also has what? The POS report. Why? Because it is the same POS report of the acquiring bank that the acquiring bank uses to do what? To settle the merchant bank account that is domiciled with them at the point of settlement. Now we go further to talk about the causes of discrepancy or differences between the merchant record and what? And the acquiring bank record. We have under settlement. Under settlement test simply means that what? That one or successful transaction was not credited to the what? To the POS report of the merchant. So what will the merchant do in this instance? The merchant will simply need to what? To get his POS report and what? And also request for the POS report of the bank and do what we call vouching. The transactions should be what? Vouched against each other. Ojo came to withdraw 2,000. I have 2,000 in my report. In the bank POS report, is it there? No. If it is not there, that means that 2,000 was not what? It's part of the under settlement. So when the transactions are vetted or vouched one by one, it will help that Graceman enterprise to know the what? The transactions that are responsible for the under settlement. Note that under settlement are as a result of what? One or two omissions of successful transaction. Successful transaction. Thank you. So another cause of discrepancy or disagreement between merchant report and acquiring bank report is what we call what? Failed transaction. Failed transaction, other things being equal, they are in an ideal situation. It is expected that when a transaction fails, the issuing bank should not be debited. But the reason this causes discrepancy is because most of the time or sometimes when transactions fail, the issuing bank is debited. And this has led to several issues between what? Between the merchants and their customers. Why? Because when a transaction fails, the expected or the ideal is that the issuing bank should not be debited. But because of technical glitch and some inconsistency in the switch and the rest, issuing bank tend to be debited when some transaction fail. And this takes us to what we call claims. So in a situation when a transaction fail, right? Also, when a transaction fail, it is also expected that what? That the issue mark should not be debited, right? It also does happen that the issue mark will be debited and the expectation will be that the merchant should be credited, but the merchants are not always credited in most cases. So what is done at that point is the custodian, the owner of the card will be asked to go to his or her bank to raise what we call claims. When they get to the bank, they carry out the investigation to confirm if what? If the merchant got value for the money. In a situation where the merchant got value, let me take this a step further using the diagram above. We have the failed transaction. Transaction can fail. Issuing bank is debited, just as I explained. Ojo came to withdraw. Ojo in this case, if Ojo has GT Bank, that means GT Bank is the what? Is the issuing bank. Issuing bank is debited and acquiring bank is not credited. So if the issuing bank is debited and acquiring bank is not debited, what happens? The merchant who is in custody of this thing will decline the claim. Why? Because the merchant did not get value for that one, for that failed transaction. But in a situation where the issuing bank is debited and the acquiring bank got value, what happens? The claim will be accepted. That simply means that at that point that the transaction failed, right, and I'm eventually credited, instantly the merchant might not have been credited. So at that point, what happens? The merchant would not give the customer cash. So in that situation, if the merchant was not eventually credited, because the merchant did not give the customer cash, That simply means that what such money is due to be what to be debited back into the merchant account and be credited what to the customer at that point where the claims of the customer get to the merchant. Let me try to wrap this up. When transaction failed, the expected is that the issuing bank should not be debited. It does happen that the issuing bank will be debited. So if the issuing bank is debited, the expectation should also be that the acquiring bank should be credited, but this doesn't happen all of the time. So in a situation where the issuing bank is debited, and the acquiring bank is credited, but the money didn't get to the merchant can do what? Can decline the transaction at that point that I did not get the money. So that would mean that such claim will be declined by the merchant. But in a situation where the transaction failed and the merchant got the funds, right? The merchant got the value. In that kind of situation, the merchant will need to accept the claims. Why? Because at that point, the merchant did not give the customer cash. So at that point, the merchant will need to what? Will need the money to be refunded back to the what? To the issuing bank so that the customer's account can be credited. So we have the reconciliation template here. Let me explain. We have the days. We have the merchant report. The merchant report shows the what? Transaction by either lump sum on daily basis or line by line on daily basis as the merchant deems fit. And we have the bank statement. This simply talks about what? What will be set to the bank statement what? Of the merchant. This is the what? Merchant service charge. This merchant service charge will be what will be subtracted from the merchant, from the principal, that will now give us what will be settled to the bank statement. I will shed more light on it. Okay, let me just wrap this up. This merchant service fee contains the switch fee and the processing fee and everything with respect to the what? To the POS. We have the acquirer's fee, we have the acquiring bank fee, and we have the owner's fee, those that invested so much in what? In buying the terminal. So we also have the chargeback. This chargeback here, I was trying to explain claims. I also shed more light on it when I'm explaining how this should behave naturally. We have the difference. We have the what? Accumulated difference. Now, we go to this analysis. Day one, let's assume that the merchant collected, say, 10,000, the total collections for that day. And the MSC fee, let's assume the MSC fee is what? Is 1%. 1% here would mean that the MSC fee should be what? Should be 100 naira. So the MSC fee is what? Is 100 naira. So if it is 100 naira, that would mean that what Graceman Enterprise should be expecting in the bank account for that day should be what? Should be 9,900 naira. Other things being equal, there is no chargeback. The difference should be what? Should be zero. There will not be accumulated difference. So the ideal is whatever will hit the bank statement of the merchant should be the principal that has been collected by the merchant less the MSC. So in a situation where what the merchant has recorded is less, in fact, let's take it the other way. Let's say another day, day two. The merchant collected 20,000. So the MSC fee here will be what? MSC here will be what? 200. The merchant now was now credited with what? With 15,000 naira. That simply means that what the merchant would have as the difference would be, or what the merchant should be expecting as settlement should be 20,000 naira minus this, which is what? 19,008. That invariably means that the merchant has been undersettled to the tune of what? To the tune of 4,800 naira. So what are we saying? The difference here would be 4,800 naira. That now means that this difference is as a result of what? Undersettlement. So that means that this 4,800 is what? Is an under settlement. Maybe one or two transactions is responsible for this 4,800 naira. So again, let's assume that the day 3, the merchant record shows, say, 30,000 naira. And the bank statement showed 40,000 naira. The MSE should be what? Should be 300 naira. That simply means that other things being equal, Graceman Enterprise should be what? Should be credited with 29,700. So that now means that Graceman Enterprise there already has an over settlement of how much? Of 10,000 naira. Right? That now means that it is possible that a particular transaction failed, but the acquiring bank what? Got value. So what will happen in this instance is when the issuing bank reaches out to the acquiring bank that there is a particular claim, right? The issuing bank reaches out to the merchant. If the merchant, because Graceman Enterprise did not get value, right? Graceman will decline that claim. That now means that at the point where Graceman accept the claim, that now means that the 10,000 naira will be later reversed, debited to the merchant's bank account. So at that point of passing that entry, that now means that here we now have the what? We now have the chargeback. So when the chargeback comes in here, we will now have it as, let me say this is A, B, C, D, right? So the formula for my difference will be what? Will be A minus what? Minus B minus what? Minus C plus what? Plus D. What is that saying? Let's see something. So we have the 30,000, 40,000 was credited, 300,000. So this looks like there was a failed transaction that Graceman Enterprise didn't get value for, but the acquiring bank was, the money hit the acquiring bank, and then Graceman was credited with the money. So when the claims get to Graceman, right, let me just do the rough distance of this. We have this minus this, we have 10 minus 10,000 this. So that simply means that what? That transaction should be about 10,300. So going to my formula here, I have A minus B. That simply means that my difference here is a function of what? A minus B, merchant report minus what? Bank statement minus what? MSE. That means that this plus bank statement plus MSE charge should be equal to the what? To the principal that is in the POS report. Why? This is the principal. Before bank settles net of what? MSE. So if we have the MSE and the amount settled into the bank, the settlement amount, it should give us the principal that's in the books of the merchant report. So that now takes us to what? To this. So A minus B, that means 30,000 minus what? 40,000 will give me what? Minus 10,000. Minus MSE fee minus what? 300. That gives me minus what? 10,300. So I now say plus D plus chargeback. That now means that what? Plus what? 10,300. So once the chargeback comes in, that means my difference should be what? Should be 0. But not until the chargeback comes in, what I'll be having here will be what? Will be negative of 10,300, which simply means that what? There is an oversettlement for that day. So not until chargeback comes, the assumption remains that what? There is an oversettlement for the third of that particular what? For that particular month. So for our accumulated difference, what do? Whatever difference we have here, we'll add it to this. So difference in day 1 plus difference in day 2. So the next thing we now have will be what? Being the second day, this one will now be what? Accumulated difference in day 2 plus what? Difference in what? In day 3. and we have it in that order. Now we take it a step further, knowing fully well that the government has introduced stamp duty for transaction that is above what 10,000. It is also possible that due to technical issues, bank can be overcharging stamp duty. So in this instance, what does the merchant do? The merchant will now need to be taking note of the transactions above what? Above 10,000. So in a particular day, let's assume that day one, the merchant did transaction 10 transactions that is above 10,000. That simply means that what the merchant should be expecting as stamp duty debit duty charge for that day should be what? Should be 1,000. No, excuse me, should be 500, because it is what? 15 naira. 500 because it should be what? 15 naira per transaction, and haven't done 10 transactions above 10,000 and above. Let's now assume on that particular day the bank, there was no issue, the bank debited 500 naira. That means there will not be what? Any difference. But let's assume that in the day two, the merchant collected 10,000 naira, 10,000 and above transaction of say 20, that will be what? 1,000, and bank charge them 1,200. That means what? The bank has overcharged. In this instance, we have a debit of 200 naira in jacket, which is what? Which is an overcharge of stamp duty. And in our accumulated difference, we have what? 200. Let's now assume that on the third day transaction, let's assume 30, that will be what? 1,005. The bank charged 1,300. This shows an undercharge of what? 200. If we do this, that simply means that what? On the third day, the stamp duty charge as what? As balanced up. That means that this could have been as a result of what? Overlapping or technical issues. Should you have any question, do not hesitate to use the comment section. Thank you. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you in the next one.